Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. I slam a pregnancy test onto the counter, 2 bars already burning. I freeze in place. Our transfer is next week. My pulse climbs like it wants out. Who put this clock on fast forward? I'm Daniel, 33. I call her name once, no answer. The bathroom fan rattles through the wall. I hit speaker on my phone. The clinic voicemail hisses. Transfer rescheduled pending consent forms. The recording clicks off, the room shrinks. I replay it and stare at the test again. What did she sign without me? She walks in and stops short. Her hand goes to the sink, steady grip. You're early, she says. My throat refuses to work. I slide the stick toward her. Explain this. I keep my voice even. The tile feels loose under my heel. She won't touch the test. Why won't she touch it? I followed our plan, she says, eyes on me, not it. My screen glows with the clinic number. I tap call and hold still. The line rings forever. A busy tone cuts through me. I open the patient portal and scan alerts. A new document waits. Consent updated. Signature on file. My name in bold. Shape looks wrong. Who forged me? She reaches for my wrist. Don't spiral, I pull back. Did you change clinics? She bites her lower lip. The answer sits behind her teeth. Who's the donor? I ask. The question lands heavy. She swallows hard and looks past me, not past me, toward the doorway. My chest tightens. Footsteps in the hall, soft and familiar. A knock taps the frame. My brother leans in with a cautious half smile. He spots the test and stops breathing. Why is he here? I step between them. Why did you bring him? She folds her arms across her ribs. I asked him to come. My brother nods once, awkward and guilty. The air goes thin. Tell me I'm wrong. My voice shakes once, then holds. He glances at her for permission. He doesn't get it. He looks at me instead. His eyes can't meet mine. She unlocks her phone and opens a receipt. Private clinic, yesterday, 1 session. My stomach drops. There's a digital form under it, my name stamped clean. That signature isn't mine. I keep my hands open. She presses her lips together. They allowed an update. She won't stand closer. Distance suddenly matters. Answer the donor part. The words come flat. She rests her palm on the door. Compatible match. My jaw aches. Compatible with what, me or him? My brother shifts his weight and clears his throat. You called me last month. He won't sit. He won't run either. He is stuck to the floor. I can feel the moment tilting. I step toward him. Did you go in? He looks at the tile, then up. One nod, small and lethal. Heat flashes through my arms. Did I just lose my place in my own house? Clinic supervision, 1 time. She holds up 2 fingers like swearing in court. We were out of time. My brother's shoulders shake once. He looks like he wants to unexist. I grip the counter and breathe through it. You crossed the line without me. My voice finds steel. You turned a choice into ambush. She blinks fast. The test waits between us like a fuse. I call the clinic again and set it on speaker. The hold music scrapes. Account access requires both parties. The operator comes in crisp. Flag on file for irregular consent. My eyes close, then snap open. I'm one party, I say. Freeze everything now. The operator pauses. I can log a hold while we review. Papers shuffle through the receiver. She asks for the date on the test. I check the back and read it out. My hand shakes, still readable. Noted, the operator says. Do not proceed with any steps. The call ends with a click that sounds final. Nothing feels final. I turn to them, both flinching. We tell our families tonight. My brother rubs his jaw, raw motion. I'll come clean. She nods once, jerky and small. The test sits like evidence that can't be unread. We wanted a child together. The words land heavy. Now we need a lawyer together. No one argues. No one moves first. Who breaks this stalemate without breaking us? I start a new recording and dial the clinic manager. The voicemail greets me with a polished wall. I leave a short demand and timestamp. I end the message and hit call again. Someone will answer or I show up in person. She hovers near the door with crossed arms. We should sit. I shake my head once. We move. I grab my keys and look at my brother. He reaches for the knob and stalls. You want me gone. His voice barely clears the doorway. You stay until I say otherwise. I point at the table like it's a chair with handcuffs. Phone on the surface, I add. He sets it down face up. A notification blinks and dies. No one touches it. We stand in a triangle that won't hold. I open the laptop and start a calendar invite. Lawyer consult, emergency. I send it to both of them with a firm tone in the subject. The ping lands and no one breathes. Call your mother, I tell him. He nods and dials with stiff fingers. He puts it on speaker and stares at the floor. Her hello arrives cheerful and sharp. We need a meeting tonight.
What?
Her cheer drains into quiet. Here or there, I answer for him. Our place, 1 hour. She starts to ask why. I end the call and feel my hands buzz. My phone rings with an unknown number. I answer before the second tone. This is the clinical director. The voice is clipped and controlled. We received your hold request. My jaw unlocks by a hair. I need the consent audit today. Silence on the line stretches thin. We can provide a compliance packet within 48 hours. I stare at the clock like I can bend it. You have 4 hours or we go public. Another pause lands like a test. I will escalate to legal right now. The line dies with a cold beep. I set the phone down and push the laptop toward my wife. Document everything we remember. She opens a blank note and waits. Start with dates. Her fingers hover and then move. She records messages, calls, and payments. She stops at one field and looks up. Do we include his visit? I look at my brother and nod away. Yes, he swallows and nods once. He leans forward and names the time. Shame is loud even when whispered. A new alert hits my inbox. The clinic legal team requests a secure upload. I forward the request to both of them. No one contacts them alone. I mark the rule with a raised hand. Boundaries mean survival. The doorbell rings like a drill. I check the camera and see my father a step back. He never comes unannounced. I buzz him in and brace for impact. He walks in with a controlled stride. He studies our faces and the phones on the table. I was told this is urgent. I nod toward a chair and remain standing. We hit a wall and I need witnesses. The word witnesses lands like a gavel. He sits and laces his fingers. Say it in one breath. I do. I leave out nothing. He listens without flinching. He stares at my brother last. Do you understand what you created? He addresses him without raising volume. My brother nods and folds in on himself. We clean this up fast. My father shifts his gaze to me. First rule, no private calls with the clinic. He taps the table once. Second rule, no solo meetings. He taps again and looks at her. Third rule, independent tests when advised. The air curls tight around those words. My mother calls my phone with a flood of alerts behind it. I answer on speaker and ask her to come now. She refuses to wait and runs through questions. I tell her we will explain in person. She hangs up without a goodbye. The clinical director calls back with a new tone. We initiated a temporary freeze per your request. I write the words as she speaks them. Our legal team will deliver the packet tonight. I ask for the chain of custody. She agrees and ends with a practiced assurance. My father nods once and points at the laptop. Start a timeline. I type times, names, and numbers. He asks for the order of every contact. We fill the rows with brisk detail. The shape of the day turns into a map with traps. My brother stands and paces 2 steps. Do I call my workplace? I hold up a palm. No postings, no whispers, not a word. He nods and pockets his hands. He looks like a man waiting for a sentence he earned. A new email arrives with a secure link. Access granted for incident review. I click through and read the first field aloud. Consent update requested by patient. I feel my knees vibrate against the chair. She grips her wrist and waits for the next line. Authorized by secondary party with digital signature. I read the initials and stop breathing. The initials are mine. The method shows e-sign with device log. I look up and meet her eyes. Which device? My voice drops to gravel. The page lists a model and time. The model matches my tablet. The time matches when I was at the pharmacy. I push back from the table and stand. How did you access the tablet? She blinks and opens her mouth. She closes it and picks at a nail. I guessed your code. My father exhales through his nose. The room tilts into a sharper angle. I point to the next section and keep reading. Verification questions answered correctly. Audit notes mention address confirmation. My brother presses his palms to his forehead. My father sets his jaw like a clamp. We file a police report if the clinic stalls. My voice is steady again. We also notify the regulator. I open a new draft with both offices listed. My father nods once with approval that hurts. My mother arrives with fast steps. She takes in the scene in a beat. No plates, no food, just talk. She sits and angles her chair to block the door. She knows crowd control when she sees a spiral coming. I lay out the facts again with the new details. She bites down on a knuckle and releases it. You keep control of the timeline. She looks at my wife without blinking. And you follow his lead until this settles. My phone buzzes with an unknown contact. The message includes a secure appointment link for arbitration. I close it without clicking. We do not enter their sandbox. I delete the message in S. How the trash for proof. The clinical packet arrives with audit screenshots. We scroll through device IDs and IP entries. A selfie check shows a blurred face. The system accepted it anyway. My father taps the screen where the blur sits. Quality failure. He lifts his eyes and holds the point. This helps us. I attach the images to our timeline. I list questions under each one. The case builds itself into a spine. My wife stands and walks to the sink. She runs water and breathes in slow counts. She turns it off and returns to the table. I will call my parents after this. She speaks like a person touching an electric fence. We prepare a script. I open another note and start lines, short sentences, no qualifiers, no excuses. She nods and repeats each line until it fits. I schedule the lawyer meeting for first light. I send the invite to both families. I add the clinical director as optional. The calendar confirms with a chime that startles me. Every countdown now feels radioactive. We sit in silence until the next knock. My mother gets the door and ushers in her sister. Word spread faster than we managed. Fine, more witnesses, fewer edits later. I gather every device onto the table. Phones, laptop, tablet, we place them where everyone can see them. No one touches anything without a nod from me. Tonight we hold the line. My voice drops to a low register. Tomorrow we demand corrections. I look at each of them for a full beat. And if they stall, we take this to the top. Another ping from the clinic interrupts the silence. Final confirmation of freeze attached. I print the page to PDF and store it twice. My father gives a single tight nod. The first wall finally locks. I look at my brother and point to the couch. You sleep here. He lowers himself without argument. He pulls a throw over his knees like a shield. He will not return to his place tonight. He knows why. She stands at the edge of the room. I will stay in the guest room. I do not answer for a long breath. Door open, I say finally. She nods and places her pillow on the chair. The line between us turns into tape on the floor. I check the timeline one last time. The hours are full, but the night will not end. I save copies to 2 drives in an encrypted vault. Backups give me something to press. Control is a thin rope and I grip it hard. My father rises and squeezes my shoulder once. Set alarms in 2-hour blocks. He points to the phones like they could revolt. Check emails at each alarm and log everything. He walks to the doorway and waits for my nod. I set the alarms and watch the first countdown begin. The room quiets into a tense truce. Everyone finds a hard surface and pretends it helps. No one sleeps. We wait for the next shoe to crash. The door rattles before my first alarm. A courier shoves an envelope toward my chest. Signature required. I block his pen with my palm. He eyes the hallway and waits. What trap did they race over here? I tear the flap and scan the top sheet. Mandatory arbitration, confidentiality, 30 days to accept credits. I hold it flat and snap photos. No signatures today unless a judge orders me. My father leans beside me and reads in silence. He points at a paragraph with tight lips, penalties for public disclosure. He taps twice and steps back. They want quiet more than truth. I place the packet on the table and mark each page number. My mother watches every motion like a notary. No documents leave this room. The courier shifts and checks his watch. He leaves without the paper and without eye contact. Her phone lights up with an unknown caller. She answers and hits speaker with a quick nod. A nurse introduces herself in a stiff voice. I'm calling to confirm yesterday's procedure type. My heart thumps once and holds. Specify the type. My tone avoids any pleas. Intrauterine insemination under exception code. My father straightens at that word, exception. The nurse inhales, not embryo transfer. My knuckles drain to chalk. Who authorized the exception? She hesitates and asks for a secure line. No, I hold firm. This is a witness call. Papers scrape near her receiver. The attending physician approved the override. That single word hangs like a live wire. I open our logbook and add a new row. My wife swallows and grips the chair. She repeats the phrase exception code like it stings. I anchor the time with a red dot. Every minute now can hurt or help. My brother's phone pings with a deposit alert. He glances and flinches as if caught. I hold out my hand for the screen. Donor services payment processed. He looks like he might throw up. A number sits there like a confession. Save the notice. He forwards it and bows his head. My mother breathes out through her teeth. That is inducement. The word lands with weight. We finally have a lever. I grab my jacket and open the door wide. We go now. My father nods and lifts his keys. My mother gathers her bag and falls in behind. My brother trails. After us like a shadow that knows its shape. Security blocks us at the clinic entrance with polite lines. Appointments only. I raise my phone and begin a live feed to the family thread. The guard steps aside without a fight. Pressure works when cameras stare. We are led to a windowless conference room that smells like bleach and coffee. The chief walks in with counsel tucked close. They set down folders as if they might explode. I do not sit. Posture is power when everything else shakes. Here is our proposal. The lawyer pushes a packet forward with 2 fingers. Credits for services, confidentiality forever, no admission of error. I do not touch it. My father slides it back without blinking. We require a full incident report. I keep my voice level, plus a written acknowledgement of forgery and process failure. Counsel laughs once and replaces it with a cough. The chief's eyes flick to the door. Produce your verification footage, I add. I want the moment the electronic consent went through. Counsel shakes their head with a rehearsed pity. That media is internal. My father lifts his phone and starts dialing. A lab supervisor enters mid-ring with a clipboard and unsteady hands. I brought the seal registry. The chief does not hide surprise. The supervisor reads a number and holds up a photo. The tape shows a break in a new strip. My stomach rocks. What time did that break occur? The supervisor reads the minute on the log. It matches the exception call by a sliver. The chief pinches the bridge of her nose and whispers something short. Counsel adjusts their tie and stops smiling. We will remove the staff involved pending investigation. The chief finally looks at me. We regret the distress. I stare until she drops her gaze. Regret does not repair altered paperwork. We need blood work today, my wife says with her grip tight. HCG and baseline panel. The nurse from the hallway moves with quick steps. Labels print and stick to tubes under our eyes. I write each code into the record like carving. My brother clears his throat and lifts his chin. Take my cheek swab for identity linkage. Counsel objects with an open palm. The supervisor nods toward compliance and pulls a kit. I watch the swab go into a bag and mark the reference. Two officers appear in the doorway with standard uniforms and quiet authority. We received a report about unauthorized signatures. The chief starts to usher them into the lobby. The taller officer plants his feet and opens a notebook. This visit will not be staged. The officers request the access logs in the face check snapshot. Counsel reaches for the same tired line. Internal only. The taller officer names the statute for fraud and documentation. The chief signals to the supervisor without words. Printouts stack in front of us like cards, IP traces, time stamps, the face check that failed quality. The officer drops a card onto the table for evidence intake. The room loses its balance for a beat. A nurse slips me a folded note as she collects the tubes. She keeps walking without a glance. I unfold it under the table. One name, a short code written twice, override 41. My pulse kicks up. We step out after the officers finish their first pass. Counsel relaxes their shoulders like they won a small point. Outside the conference room, my father leans in. Do not speak in hallways. I nod and pocket the note like a spark. Back home, I update the ledger with brutal speed. New entries, new exhibits. The inducement alert goes under a fresh heading. The override code sits on top in bold with a question mark that looks like a hook. I open a draft for an emergency injunction with today's date. I add the physician's name from the note. I attach the photo of the broken seal. I attach the wire confirmation. I attach my voice steady and ready for court. My wife stands at my shoulder and breathes in counts. When will the lab call? I check the clock and set 3 reminders with loud tones. Soon. We stare at the screen as if it might blink first. Something else is about to crack. The lab number lights up and I stab accept. A tech reads the figure clean. Beta at 68. My pulse trips on the first syllable. Early but real or wrong. Repeat test tomorrow. I keep my tone flat. We already drew, she answers with clipped patience. Results in the morning. The call ends before I breathe. My grip leaves marks. I open an independent order through a different system. Mobile phlebotomy with strict custody. I confirm the address twice and demand timestamp photos. The request pings back approved. We will test what they touched. A new text lands from a blocked contact. Meet offsite for proof. 30 minutes. I stare at the clock. My father nods once without words. We move like a unit toward the door. We pick a crowded cafe and split tables. A staffer in scrubs slides into the corner. She doesn't touch her drink. Your signature was imported from a prior intake. She pushes. Drive across the surface and watches my hands. What does it hold? She lifts her chin toward my phone. Access logs and a screen recording. She swallows like sand. Do not name me. She leaves the cup untouched and vanishes toward the street. I plug the drive into the laptop and open the first file. The recording shows my name auto-filled while security questions get bypassed. A supervisor's login hovers over the screen for one frame. I pause and screenshot the badge number. My father dials the officers and requests evidence pickup. He reads the badge digits without glancing at notes. They promise a unit within the hour. I save the files to 3 locations and set alerts. No piece disappears without a fight. Back home, the mobile nurse rings and asks for entry. I meet her at the door and walk her in silence. She photographs each step like a ritual. Tubes fill and seal with loud clicks. She hands me the claim number and leaves fast. My brother hovers near the hallway like a shadow caught. Do we tell her parents now? He wrings his hands once. After the officers clear the drive, I keep my eyes on the computer. One fire at a time or we burn everything. The clinic chief calls again with a new tone. We propose an outside mediator. I let the pause stretch an extra beat. We already engaged counsel, she breathes out through her nose. Then we suspend the attending pending review. That is the first real movement. I message our lawyer and attach the staffer's files. He replies with a direct line and a time frame. He wants sworn statements today. He wants the nurse for an affidavit. He wants the badge in print. Finally, someone hungry for facts. My mother steps in with stern eyes and a legal pad. You will stay here, she tells my wife with a slow nod. You will not call anyone unsupervised. My wife bristles and holds position. I will cooperate. Her voice lands steady but small. 2 officers arrive for the pickup and log the drive. Body cameras on. They thank the whistleblower without a name. They photograph my copy routine. They request the mobile draw numbers. The chain tightens in visible lines. The lab portal chimes again with an unexpected note. Urgent recollection recommended due to mismatched labels. I feel the heat under my skin rise. I call the outside nurse back immediately. She answers with crisp calm and reads her labels aloud. They match her photos perfectly. The error came from the clinic batch, not ours. I draft the complaint to the regulator with that sentence up front. My father checks the time and clicks his tongue. We are building pressure in the right place. My wife steps closer with open palms but no touch. Let me call the chief with you. I look at her face for a long breath. You can listen. I put the phone on speaker and dial. Every word now counts like money. The independent draw is valid, I open with force. Your batch shows a label mismatch. The chief pauses like she touched a wire. We will run an internal control. I cut in before she finishes. Regulator already notified. She switches to legalese and asks for our file numbers. I give them without a flourish. She promises a corrective plan by end of day. I write down every syllable while she talks. She offers free services again and gets nothing. We end the call on a clean click that feels sharp. A ping from the independent lab lands like a gavel. Chain complete, samples in transit, estimated processing overnight. I save the message and copy it twice. My chest loosens by a millimeter. My brother clears his throat and straightens his spine. I will call my pastor and step back from everything. He holds my gaze without blinking. Good, my answer is plain. He nods once and walks to the couch like it might judge him. I receive a blocked call with heavy breathing and silence, then a man's voice at a whisper. Override 41 equals donor substitution. He hangs up before I reply. The room leans sideways for a second. My father writes the phrase down like a charge. I fire off a single line to our lawyer. That code equals substitution. He responds with 6 words. Injunction filing now. Clear your afternoon. I lock eyes with my wife. She looks ready for a verdict we cannot shape. My mother's phone lights with a group chat explosion. Family wants answers and arrival times. I set a hard window for everyone, 30 minutes total. Questions by order, phones on the table. This meeting will not sprawl. I gather the packets and lay out the sequence. Entry, signatures, lab notes, the cafe files, the officer cards, no commentary, just steps. I practice the outline once under my breath. My voice finds a stride that sounds like marching. The doorbell punishes the air with a long ring. Family pours in with frantic eyes. I raise a hand and the room settles. I begin at the test and end at the code. I hold certain pieces back for counsel. Faces change shape as points land. An aunt reaches toward my wife and stops mid-motion. Whose child if? This proceeds, the question hangs and sparks. I keep my eyes forward and answer clean. That is why the injunction must file. This is not cruelty, this is precision. The meeting ends with short hugs and longer looks. People leave with their phones muted and their mouths pressed shut. My father locks the door and sets 2 chairs at angles. He sees the battlefield and places cover. My lawyer calls with one instruction, be at the courthouse in 40 minutes. I grab the folder and a bottle of water. I look at my wife for one count. She nods and reaches for her jacket. We step into the hallway together but not healed. The metal detector screams and a guard lifts a palm. I empty my pockets fast. Folder stays with me under his stare. He waves us through with a grunt. My heart keeps drumming for a fight. Our lawyer waits by the door with crisp eyes. Straight in, he scans my face once. You hold the exhibits, I do the cuts. We push into the courtroom as the clock bites down. Opposing counsel shuffles papers like they're confetti. The judge enters with a sharp look. Emergency calendar, make it simple. Our lawyer stands tall and points at me. I step forward with the drive like it's hot steel. Electronic authorization spoofed. Exception code 41, inducement deposit to a related party. He drops each phrase with space. He slides the photos across the rail. The judge takes the first page and holds it high. Counsel tries to object with polished rhythm. This belongs in private mediation. The judge cuts him with one finger, not when fraud is alleged. She motions for the officer at the wall. Collect those materials now. My phone vibrates on silent and I glance down. Independent lab updates the status line. Integrity confirmed on our samples. Processing overnight with rush flag. I lock the screen and keep breathing. The judge reads the transfer notice and the override entry. Her mouth tightens by a degree. Who applied the code? Counsel shifts and reaches for jargon. Operational necessity. The word hangs like a bad smell. Our lawyer lifts the frame from the screen capture. Supervisor login present during e-sign. He taps the timestamp with one knuckle. Same minute as the override. The judge looks at the bailiff. Subpoena the supervisor immediately. I pass up the inducement alert from my brother's account. The number lands on the bench like it weighs extra. Counsel stammers through 3 soft excuses. The judge flips the page back. That smells like purchase. My wife squeezes her fingers together and asks to speak. She keeps it to one breath. I guessed his passcode and updated the portal. The room rustles and then stills. The judge fixes her with a long stare. Why bypass your partner? My wife swallows once and stands straighter. I panicked after the clinic's call. Her voice stays narrow but clear. The judge shifts toward me. Do you seek protection from further unilateral actions? Yes, the word leaves me like a blade. In preservation of every record. My jaw stays tight but steady. The judge writes 2 lines without looking up. I can almost see the order form in her head. Counsel tries a softer pivot. They remain married. Mediation saves everyone. Our lawyer doesn't blink. Mediation cannot unbreak a seal. He holds the photo at chest height. The judge nods once. That image hits like a hammer. The door opens and the taller officer steps in. He carries a sealed pouch with bright tape. He hands it to the clerk without ceremony. Preliminary device logs from the facility. The clerk passes it forward while the judge watches. The judge cracks the seal and scans fast. Donor substitution table mapped to code 41. She reads the descriptor twice. Related donor authorized by attending. Counsel pales to paper. The courtroom air tightens in our lungs. Our lawyer leans close and whispers 2 words. Affidavit now. He cues my brother with a curt nod. My brother walks to the front like walking on marbles. He places his palm on the book and faces the bench. State the circumstances of your sample. His throat works once, 1 visit under staff direction. He adds the date in the room. The judge writes again with short strokes. My brother steps back with eyes down. Counsel lunges for dignity and misses. Any consent existed within the couple. The judge looks over the glasses, not after digital forgery. She signs the first page with a sharp flourish, then she signs a second page for good measure. Temporary restraining order granted. Her voice hits the wood like a gavel. All procedures halted pending review. She slides copies to both tables. All contact through counsel only. She turns to the officer. Secure every server touchpoint. The clerk staples a notice to the order. The officer takes photos of the pile. Counsel whispers into a phone and pretends calm. My lawyer gathers our copies and nods once. We are not done, but we have air. The judge rises and leaves without ceremony. Everyone exhales like they just finished a sprint. I look at my wife. She meets my eyes and doesn't look away. We step into the hallway as phones start to ring. A local reporter approaches like a shark, microphone already up and hungry. I hold up a palm and keep walking, no comment until the regulator confirms. He tracks us backward until the bailiff blocks him. The hallway clears in slow motion. Our lawyer stops at a bench and spreads the documents. Next steps, he points to 3 items like targets. Regulator complaint, police report supplement, civil preservation letter. He circles the code 41 with a thick line. That circle looks like a wound. My father arrives with a tight nod and a fresh pad. He checks the orders and checks me. You eat later, you file now. He hands me a pen like a baton. I take it because he is right. We file the regulator packet at the window across the hall. The clerk scans the pages and stamps the corner. Case number assigned. She writes it on a sticky slip and slides it to me. The number sticks to my fingers like glue. The police station sits 1 floor down through a side door. The officer at the desk knows our faces already. We submit the new logs in the substitution table. He enters the fields with fast accuracy. He gives us a receipt with a barcode that hums. Back outside, my phone lights with a call from the clinical director. I let it ring once longer than polite. I answer with hands steady. Your operation is under order. Preserve everything and stop outreach. She breathes in short. We will comply and cooperate. Send written confirmation within the hour. I end the call without leave. My lawyer hears every word and checks his watch. We meet again at 4 with investigators. He pockets his phone and starts walking. We follow like we decided this together. In the car, my brother stares ahead and tightens his jaw. I will sign whatever accountability requires. He doesn't look at me yet. You will sign the truth. I keep my tone level. No self-pity, no spin. We pull into our driveway and step inside. My mother has chairs arranged like stations. She reads faces like thermometers, updates. I hand her the order and the number. She nods and points toward the table. I open the laptop and upload every scan. Our timeline receives 3 new branches: court order, substitution proof, device logs. I attach the officer receipt and the regulator number. Paperwork is armor and I want more plates. A block number rings again and I let it hit voicemail. The transcript appears a second later, short, brutal: stop or we leak your medical history. My hands go still over the keys. My father reads it and whistles low. Our lawyer calls as I forward the threat. Do not engage. He sends a template for an intimidation report. I file it within minutes. The officer confirms the new entry with a terse text. They will trace that line. The independent phlebotomy service updates the portal with a location stamp. Samples reached the lab 20 minutes ago. Processing runs as a rush with priority checks. I forward the update to everyone. We now wait on their machines. My wife moves closer and speaks soft but clear. I will attend therapy starting today. She shows an intake slot on her screen, also a statement owning my actions. She meets my eyes and holds her ground. The room waits for my answer. Add a commitment to joint decisions. I keep my voice calm. Add a consent safeguard with a double key. She nods once and adds both lines to the draft. She sends it to our lawyer with a blank subject. Boundaries need locks and alarms. My brother walks toward the door with his bag. I'll stay with a friend until the dust settles. He pauses and faces me. I will show up when asked. He waits for permission like breathing hurts. I give a short nod. He leaves without another word. The clinical director emails a formal confirmation of the halt. She attaches a preservation list and a compliance schedule. She mentions a leadership change effective immediately. I read the name of the interim and save it. Names matter when people keep lying. A separate note arrives from the regulator with speed. Investigator assigned and intake interview scheduled. They request untouched devices for imaging. I power everything down and label each charger. The officer will collect them at 4. Family trickles back in with quiet steps. No one clutters the air with advice. My father posts the order on the fridge with 2 magnets, a strange place for a legal win. It keeps us honest when fatigue asks for shortcuts. At 3:50, the officer returns with a forensic kit. He logs every device as I read serial numbers. He seals the bags and takes quick photos. He leave. S me a temporary phone with only 3 numbers preloaded. Emergency, lawyer, investigator. That phone feels like training wheels. Our lawyer arrives with the investigator 5 minutes later. They sit at the table and open fresh folders. We want a clean walkthrough of contacts. The investigator clicks her pen once. Use exact times you can verify. We begin from the test and move forward without drift. Midway through the session, my spare phone buzzes with a lab notification. Results available for serum level and identity verification. I open the portal under the investigator's eye. HCG rising as expected. Identity on the sample verified to my chain. 1 box checked hard. Genetics next, the investigator notes. She draws a line and a question mark. She looks at my wife with steady eyes. You will provide additional samples if ordered. My wife nods and sets her jaw. The investigator writes that down. The officer returns with a short update on the threat call. Spoofed number traced to a prepaid device near the clinic. They have camera footage of the exit door at the time of the call. He plans to pull it before midnight. I feel a small gear click forward. The clinical director emails a last note at dusk. They will produce facial verification clips to the investigator by morning. She uses the word cooperate twice. She never writes the word apology. I let that absence burn a little. I step onto the porch and breathe slow. My mother opens the door and waits. We keep moving, she says without drama. She squeezes my shoulder once. Then we see what tomorrow brings. I go back inside and open a new document labeled Safeguards. I list double consent. I list device controls. I list verified chain. I add a final line with 3 words, no more surprises. The temporary phone buzzes again with a blocked text. Short, taunting, your timeline misses a door badge. The investigator reads over my shoulder and smiles thin. Good, they are nervous. She types a note for a new subpoena. We still have miles to walk. Night settles like a curtain. Our alarms are set end to end. I stack the orders on the table as if they can stand watch. My wife lays on the couch with her eyes open. We stare at the ceiling and listen for the next knock. The door finally hits twice, not loud, intentional. My father moves first and checks the camera. He opens with a firm stance. The supervisor stands there with a paper envelope and shaking hands. She wants to speak off the record. I step into the doorway and keep my voice level. Only recorded statements. She nods and lifts the envelope anyway. Then record this. Inside is a printed roster with donor codes mapped to initials. Code 41 sits beside 2 letters that match my brother. The investigator copies the page and seals the original. This closes a loop. She prints a receipt and hands it over. The supervisor wipes her eyes and asks for protection. Our lawyer takes her number and promises nothing and everything. The door closes and the house exhales. I sit at the table and stare at the looped letters, not news to my bones but proof on paper. I file it under final exhibits for the injunction hearing. The binder grows teeth. We finally have something that bites back. The temporary phone rings one last time before midnight. The judge's clerk speaks in a quick whisper. Hearing advanced to tomorrow at 8. She pauses for air. Bring the roster and the logs. The line clicks off before I can thank her. I set the alarm for 5 and look around the room. My mother dozes in a chair like a sentry. My wife watches me from across the space. We hold each other's gaze without moving. Morning will either steady us or break us. The alarm rips me up and I'm on my feet. Cold water, fast breath, jacket on. The folder waits by the door like a dare. We leave before words can soften. Today either locks this down or breaks us. The courthouse hall hums with footsteps and low voices. Our lawyer meets us near the elevator with a tight nod. Exhibits front, speak clean. He checks his watch and points ahead. We move like a small unit under pressure. Inside, the clerk calls our case without ceremony. The judge enters with quick steps and sharper eyes. Bring the roster. I hand it over with the logs stacked behind it. She scans the first line and looks up like she smelled smoke. Opposing counsel starts with a polished throat clear. Clinical discretion is protected. The judge taps the roster with a pen. Not when kinship appears on this table. Counsel blinks hard. The room stiffens around that word. The supervisor stands near the wall and raises a hand. The judge waves her forward without delay. You printed this roster, a nod small but certain. Produced from what database? Chain registry. The answer lands heavy. Play the facial check, our lawyer requests. The clerk loads the clip in silence. The screen shows a blurred snapshot getting approved, a pause, then the green tick that started this mess, TA. Judge leans closer like proximity can fix it. Quality control protocol, she asks without blinking. Counsel tries a faint smile. Triage during a staffing gap. The judge writes one line that looks like a verdict. Then triage your consequences. A door opens and the attending walks in with counsel at his shoulder. The judge calls him forward with 2 fingers. Under oath, he places his hand on the book and faces front. He looks everywhere but at us. Who keyed the override? He clears his throat twice. I did with supervisor credentials. Our lawyer lifts the frame capture like a badge. Time on the screen matches his admission. The judge's jaw tightens by a notch. Why bypass partner sign-off? He takes a breath and chooses a thin line, perceived urgency. Our lawyer steps in with a clean strike, and the inducement credited the relative on the same day. He lays the bank notice on the rail. The judge does not blink. The judge turns to the investigator seated behind us. Criminal referral ready. The investigator answers with one word, yes. The judge writes another line that looks like a door shutting. The attending stares at the floor. Status of the pregnancy. The judge looks to our side without softening. I keep my tone even. Independent labs handling serum today. Identity chain verified on collection. She nods once. Paternity testing later if conditions require. Our lawyer asks to convert the restraining order. Preliminary injunction with records escrow. The judge considers for 2 beats. Granted. She sets deadlines that sound like hammers. She adds sanctions for breach. The clerk types like a metronome. Opposing counsel reaches for settlement with a bland face. Confidential resolution helps everyone. The judge glances up with dry eyes. Transparency helps the next patient. She signs a second sheet with quick strokes. Produce a notification plan by noon. The supervisor asks for whistleblower protection with a shaking voice. The judge nods toward the investigator, coordinates safe handling, then back to us without pause. Any safety concerns at home? I answer fast. Threat message last night. The investigator lifts a finger, already traced to a prepaid near the clinic. The judge orders a no-contact clause and a tech freeze. She orders devices imaged and accounts locked. She orders a registry audit across the program. Counsel starts to object then thinks better of it. The word objection dies before air. Marriage counseling is outside my lane, she adds, but joint consent from now on. She looks at both of us until we hold her stare. You will not move alone again. She signs that line like a promise and a warning. The hearing ends with a final strike of paperwork. The clerk hands us copies warm from the printer. The hallway rushes back into noise. Our lawyer ushers us toward a side room. He locks eyes with me like we both know the drill continues. Next hour is crucial. He divides tasks with crisp gestures. You meet the investigator for a recorded timeline. He turns to my wife. You sign the statement you drafted yesterday. He looks at me again. You hold composure when questions push. We sit in the interview space with a recorder on the table. The investigator sets time and case number. Begin with the call you received in the bathroom. I run through actions in strict order. She interrupts only for timestamps and names. Each piece clicks into place. Halfway through, the temporary phone buzzes with a short alert. The lab confirms rising numbers that fit a very early window. The investigator logs the time and nods. Genetic work when gestation allows. She underlines it once. Waiting is a task now, not a void. Our lawyer steps back in with 2 updates. Prosecutor opened an inquiry. He holds up a card with a seal. Regulator scheduled an on-site surprise. He smiles without joy. Get ready for retaliation attempts. We have coverage. We leave the courthouse through a side entrance to avoid microphones. The morning feels bright and cold enough to bite decisions. My father meets us with the car idling. He scans our faces and reads the outcome. You won an inning, not the game. At home, the door barely shuts before phones light again. The clinic bows to the injunction with formal language. They offer medical monitoring at a 3rd site under court watch. I forward it to counsel and wait for his go. Trust does not return just because they typed it. My wife stands in the kitchen and asks one quiet question. If this continues, do we parent? The room hums like a wire under storm. I grip the counter and feel the edge ground me. We make that call with every fact on the table. Our lawyer returns a minute later with instructions. Accept the monitored care but decline their staff. He names a hospital on the other side of town. He already booked the earliest slot. Speed matters more than comfort. We drive with my parents following in their car. At check-in, the clerk has the DG's order in the system. A nurse escorts us past waiting rooms and unnecessary eyes. The ultrasound tech prepares the machine and asks for permissions. We nod together like a pact. A small image appears and holds for a beat. The tech marks the measurement and prints a strip for evidence. No commentary, no interpretation, data only. She uploads the captures to the secure case folder in front of us. A counselor joins with a clipboard and a calm voice. We will not discuss options until the legal portion rests. She hands each of us a page titled Consent Safeguards, 2 signatures required for all decisions, a third caregiver signs as witness. The pen feels heavy but good. The phone vibrates again with another unknown text. Back off or your family gets dragged. The investigator reads it over my shoulder and takes the device. Keep breathing. She forwards it into the case file with geolocation attached. The carrier will hand over the tower within hours. My brother sends a message from a friend's place. I will testify again if needed. I type back 4 words. Only facts, no drama, he replies with a single dot-like acceptance. Distance is necessary even when loyalty hurts. We head back and find our living room turned into a command center. The investigator sets up a schedule on the whiteboard. Our lawyer outlines discovery requests. My mother brings pitchers of water and posts the court numbers on the wall. We work like a small newsroom with stakes. The regulator team video calls from the clinic lobby with bodycams live. They sweep through storage and paperwork. The camera catches a drawer with loose labels. A compliance officer freezes the frame and tags it. The sweep looks methodical and unforgiving. The attending's attorney emails a letter full of smoke, miscommunication under chaotic conditions. Our lawyer replies with 10 lines and no adjectives. Your client admitted override under oath. He attaches the clip in the roster. The thread ends there with a thud. Mid-afternoon, the prosecutor's office requests formal statements for criminal counts. Forgery, tampering, coercion. They schedule time slots and provide victim services contact. The words read like a weight leaving my shoulders and settling where it belongs. The independent lab sends a secure notice about chain verification. They matched our home collection to the passport photo taken at intake. Minor relief. They will hold samples for any future comparison. Chain of custody is now a wall, not a curtain. My wife sits beside me and places her hand near mine, not touching, close enough to feel heat. I will accept whatever you decide about us after this. Her eyes hold steady. I hold steady too. We focus on safety first, then we decide if we have a marriage. Evening drops fast and the house fills with family again. Phones go into a basket near the door. I read the judge's orders aloud so no one muddles the edges. Questions follow in tight bursts. I answer most. Our lawyer answers the rest. No wandering, no gossip. The temporary phone rings with the judge's clerk on the line. Produce a proposed media statement by 10, not spin, just facts and orders. We draft 3 sentences with dates and numbers. We cut everything else. We send it to the clerk and log the time. A neighbor knocks with anxious eyes and a casserole. I decline. He leans close and whispers, "Cameras parked down the block." I nod and thank him for the heads up. We close curtains that matter and leave the rest open. Hiding feeds rumors. We will not feed them. The investigator prints restraining notices for clinic executives who tried to contact us directly. She tapes one to the door like a badge. My father sharpens the plan for tomorrow. More testimony, more copies, less shock. He points at me. Sleep in blocks. Your brain is a tool. I lie on the couch with the temporary phone on my chest. My wife takes the chair by the doorway with a blanket over her knees. We stare at the ceiling and share the same air without words. The house creaks like it remembers better days. Near midnight, the device buzzes again with a short alert. The regulator sees the audit server and the label printer. The compliance team found a stack of expired seals. The email ends with a note in bold. Evidence preservation complete. I text our lawyer a single word, progress. He replies with a thumbs up in a time, 4 a.m. filing additions. He adds a smile that does not reach punctuation. We go back to silence and pretend it helps. Another knock, 2 taps stops my heart for half a count. The investigator checks the peephole and relaxes her shoulders. She opens to reveal the taller officer with new footage on a drive. They captured the caller leaving the back entrance after the threats. He is not staff, he is the attending's brother. The investigator copies the file and logs the chain in front of us. She calls the prosecutor with 3 bullet points. The officer leaves to pick up a warrant. The circle tight. Round the right neck. My wife walks to the kitchen sink and braces her arms. If the numbers keep rising, we cannot pretend. I nod because pretending killed us once already. We schedule a consult at the new hospital with ethics present. We both sign that plan in our notes. Resolve feels like armor that does not chafe. The temporary phone vibrates with the lab portal badge. Identity assay ready for preliminary triage. The investigator reads the screen and shakes her head gently. Too early for a full match. She marks the chart and sets a reminder. patient safety is the only north. I draft a new rule list with thick lines, no unsupervised calls, 2 signatures for every entry, recordings on by default. Everyone repeats the list until it sticks. Our house becomes process, not chaos. 3 a.m. slides toward dawn and the doorbell rings one final time. Not press, not family. The judge's courier holds a sealed envelope with a court stamp. I sign the log and break the flap with a thumb. Inside is the conversion order with teeth. Preliminary injunction in full, records into escrow under court control, criminal referral confirmed, media statement approved. One more page rides behind the others. The last sheet names the clinic's liability carrier and warns of sanctions. It orders restitution reserves and patient notifications statewide. It orders external audits for a year. It orders the attending to surrender access today. The line at the end hits like a bell. Any deviation will result in contempt. I place the order on the table where everyone can see it. The room soaks it in. We are not safe. We are not finished. But the ground under us finally feels real. I look at my wife across the table. Her face is tired and set. Mine probably mirrors it. We nod once like co-managers of a crisis. Morning will bring more fights and maybe a path through them.